Hi, it's Phil Burno, and you're here in my kitchen again for another one of Dad's recipes. You're gonna like this one. So let's get started. So, I'm a dad. I raised 3 girls. They're all grown now, but one of the most fun things I did with them and for them is cook. I loved cooking for them. I love showing them how I did what I did cooking when they were little kids. It's the most fun I ever had. Really, raising those kids is the most fun I ever had. And cooking for them was just a really special thing. And on the weekends, to give Mom a break, I would cook. And one of the recipes I would cook for them was fried potatoes. Now, we're here and it's kind of like blustery fall, beginning of fall kind of season in Los Angeles. And you see I'm wearing my nice warmy sweater. It's perfect time for this kind of comfort food recipe, and my kids loved it. I love it. I don't eat it that often anymore because it's just one of those things that you want to cook for a bunch of kids that are sitting around the counter waiting for you to get done with it so you can feed it to them. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to put this recipe together and I'm going to show you how to do it. It's really simple. It's really easy. Let's get started with it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go over some of the things. As a matter of fact, we're going to go over all of the things you're going to need to put this recipe together. And first of all, the utensils. I'm going to be using a really big skillet here. You're going to notice some things in this video. I'm not going to be giving you a lot of measures and exact measures of that type of thing, but I'm going to give you general information on what you need to do, and it's going to be to taste. Pretty much all the way through to taste. All right, so here's my big skillet. Got that all ready to go. And this is going to be what I'll be putting the finished product into once it's all done. So I'll set this aside because we'll need this at the end. But you'll need a nice chef's knife, a really good, nice, sharp chef knife. And we'll also need one of these, because what we're going to do is I'm going to prepare the potatoes. I'm not going to really be doing a large batch, but I'm going to be able to get enough here to fill this up, and we're going to rinse the potatoes after I've got them diced, because we're going to dice the potatoes. So that's pretty much all the utensils that you're going to need to put this together. I will be using maybe one of my wooden or bamboo stirrers to move things around as we're cooking. But when it comes to chopping things up, I've got my knife, and then I have my ingredients, So what I'm going to use is for an oil to cook them in. I'm going to use some grapeseed oil. Very good oil to use in the skillet because you can get some high temperatures with this, and it's not going to break the oil down and be detrimental the way it does with overheating olive oil. So we're not going to be using olive oil for this recipe. We're going to use the grapeseed oil, okay? So that's the side. I'm going to be adding some onion, and this time I have some red onion. Normally I'd be using one of my nice big Walla Walla onions from my garden. I don't have one of those because the Walla Wallas didn't come out that great this year, and as a matter of fact, a lot of my friends who grew onions this year said that they didn't really get a good crop for some reason. I'm going to try another strategy, but we're going to use some real garlic cloves that I'm going to mash up and chop up and put in there, and along with the potatoes. And I have a tiny little jalapeno. It's a little one that someone gave me from their garden, and this is just fine for what our purposes are because I can use pretty much all of this jalapeno. The ones that I grow are like 3 times bigger than these. It's more than I need, but this is actually perfect. So this is going to go and bring some nice spice to the taste of this dish. I'm going to also use some crushed red pepper flakes here. I've got a little container of these, and these are really going to help in doing a little bit of adding some color more than anything else, because I'm not going to put that much of it in there, but then you're going to be able to see them. Something else for color, some parsley flakes, just kind of gives it a nice look. There's some other vegetables I could add into this, but I want to keep this recipe pretty simple here so that you're encouraged to not have to grab a whole lot of stuff to prepare to get the ingredients together. But there's things that you can do. You can do like onions. I'm sorry, onions. When I say onions, we already got onions here. But we can do like mushrooms, for instance. and throw them in the pan to heat up as well. And lots of other things, you know, you can throw some fresh cilantro in there. Just a lot of different things you can do, but this is a really simple one just to kind of get you started. So here we go. So most important ingredient here is the potatoes. Now I have a couple of white potatoes that was given to me by very dear friends of mine at church. And as a matter of fact, this recipe, I'm putting this video together for those folks so that they can see what I do with the potatoes that they gave me. But I added another potato in here. I added a red potato. Now I'm going to add this because, again, it's going to give it some additional color. This is the kind of thing that I would cook for my kids on a weekend, you know, and then maybe for lunchtime or even maybe for dinner. And then I'd add, you know, some other dishes along with it. It wouldn't be just the fried potatoes, you know. It would go with some other things to go on a plate, you know, to make a full meal. So I think it's something that's really cool, really good. Sometimes I can sit with a small bowl of this and eat it just alone. But you know what? Either way, it's something really great. It's a comfort food item, really. It's not something that's going to help you get pounds off of you or anything like that, but it sure is going to be nice to sit down with a warm bowl of this on a nice chilly afternoon or something like that. So let's get to prepping the ingredients. So as you can see here, I've already got my potatoes sliced, and I'm going to be dicing them. As you can see, what I've done here is that I've cut them in roughly about, I guess you could say a little less than ½ inch thick, thereabout. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dice these up, and then once I get these diced, I'm going to go ahead and go to work on the onion and start prepping the pepper as well. And I'll get all that done and get it all ready, and then we'll come back and show you how we put it all together. All right. You're going to notice a little later on in the video that the jalapeno pepper was magically chopped up and included in the bowl of chopped vegetables, the onions and the garlic. But I also forgot to include the step of rinsing the potatoes in the colander once they're diced. All the additional starch that's going to come out of the potatoes needs to be rinsed off before we put it into the pan to fry up. It's a very important step. Okay, now for the garlic, and just going to use a couple of cloves here. Yeah, pile it on. All right. Okay, now it looks like we're all ready here. We've got our garlic, we've got the jalapeno pepper. The onions are chopped up. It may look like a lot of onions, but these onions are gonna cook down, and I think this will be just enough. I like a lot of onions. The kids liked them. The kids really like the peppers, by the way. They really got used to eating a lot of peppers and spicy things. And of course, I've already gotten the potatoes diced and ready to go. As you can see here, we've got nice little cubes, and that's the way they liked them. That's the way I always made them. It worked great. So we're gonna get ready to get this into the skillet and fry them up. And I might even add a special ingredient, special secret ingredient. All right? So let's keep our eyes open. So I'm heating the pan up now, getting it nice and hot, and kind of turned it up quite a bit here just to get things started off. But I'm going to go ahead and put in my oil, get that ready, and I'm going to put in plenty of oil. I'm going to turn that heat down just a little bit. I want it more of a medium heat, and plenty of oil there because we're going to be putting in a lot of stuff here. We want that oil to be able to do its job there. You notice I'm not giving any measurements here, but we know what we're trying to achieve. So, yes, I want enough oil to cover the bottom of the pan and make sure that the oil is able to reach all of the potatoes. And again, we don't have that many here, but we've got quite a good amount. And I'm gonna go ahead and start putting these potatoes in right now. And the first ingredient to put in is the potatoes first, because of the fact that we want to get that cooking process started before we start putting in the vegetables and even that secret ingredient that I mentioned. All right, so let's go ahead and get these potatoes in the skillet. There you go. As you can see it there, you got a nice sizzle going right away. That oil is nice and hot, just the way it needs to be. It really needs to be hot. You don't want it, because we want to brown these potatoes. We want these guys to get browned. You know, one of the things that I did was I made sure that I rinsed these potatoes after I cut them, because when you cut them, a lot of the starch that's in the potatoes starts coming out of it. You see that. You see it on the knife as you're cutting. All right? But you want to get as much of that off, and I was able to rinse that off in the sink, and also I was able to let the potatoes sit long enough to be able to drain, and there's not as much moisture in those potatoes, extra moisture, except for what is in the potatoes themselves already. So, it's looking really nicely here, just going along nicely. Coming along nicely here. So I'm going to let this keep on cooking this way, and I'm going to turn them over periodically just to kind of get all the potatoes to be able to get down into that oil and brown pretty evenly. All right. And as that process goes, we'll start adding the ingredients as well, because they're not going to cook quite as fast. Or they're going to, I'm sorry, they'll cook a little bit faster than the potatoes. The potatoes take longer, but these onions and the peppers and the garlic, they won't take that long. Once they get into that oil, they're going to start cooking pretty quickly and browning pretty quickly. So we want these potatoes to be golden brown, okay? I always like to use that term. My kids love to hear me say that, because just one of the things I used to always say when I was cooking. All right, so we're going to keep an eye on these, and we'll keep turning them over, and then we'll be back to start throwing the additional ingredients in. All right. Okay, these potatoes are cooking quite well right now, and I decided to put a lid on it, kind of retain some of the heat in there, and it's time to start turning them over. And let's do that really quickly, because they're really starting to brown now. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. They're getting to that point where they're starting to look golden brown. That's what we're looking for. You see what I'm doing there? Now I still have a lot of these other seasonings and things to put in there along with these other vegetables. And we're very close to the point to where we're gonna be able to start putting those vegetables in. All right? All right. We're looking really good now. These are really browning nicely, really browning nicely. So now it's time to start throwing in these additional ingredients now, alrighty? So let's do that. Let us do that. I've got them all in the bowl here. Look at all that. Isn't that wonderful? All those onions, and those garlics. Let's just throw it right in. So it took about 5 to 8 minutes or so to get the potatoes to this point. And that means that we're gonna have some really well cooked potatoes. I can start lowering the heat now, and that's just something that we can do that'll keep the potatoes from getting a little too brown. Now they just need to slow down a little bit. The vegetables don't need all of that heat, right? They really don't. And we want to make sure that they're nice and mixed in. I already can start seeing those onions start to sweat a little bit as they're getting heated up. But these are coming along nicely. You know, I tell you that when you brown the potatoes right, they kind of keep a bit of crispiness for a little while. And depending on how soon you're ready to eat these, and I'm probably only going to eat just a small portion of these before I put them away, because these will last in the freezer not in the freezer, but in the refrigerator in our glass container with the lid for a good amount of time. And my wifey kid will be coming home tomorrow, and she'll probably want some of these. So look at that there. Okay, so now we've got the onions all nice and incorporated. The heat's turned down a little bit, so these onions are going to be really, really nice. Those peppers are blended in there, the garlic as well. And so now what I want to do is I want to add some of these additional ingredients here. We've got our red pepper flakes I mentioned before. Remember those, right? Remember those. We're going to put some of those in. And you notice I'm not using measurements, of course. You know, this is Dad cooking, and dads don't measure. They cook like grandmas used to cook. They just throw it in and until it looks good, right? And it tastes the way you want. And like I said, I've got those other peppers in there. These are going to add just a little bit of color. Also, I've got the parsley flakes, you know, I'm going to put those in. That adds another nice layer of color. You know, there's not a lot of taste going on there, but definitely some color, you know. And like I said, we got a lot of potatoes there. Put a good fair amount of those in, and we're going to mix those in as well. And we also have the Montreal seasoning, right? This is, you know, this Montreal seasoning is very good stuff. And it adds a little bit of pepper and some other ingredients as well, special secret ingredients. So we're going to put some of that in here, and these are key ingredients that are going to be really adding to the flavor here. All right, and got that much in there, and I still have one other ingredient that I was telling you about. It's going to be that secret ingredient. So let me go ahead and get these ingredients all kind of mixed in now. These seasonings, the parsley, the red pepper flakes, right? We've got the Montreal seasoning. Now, Montreal seasoning, we use that on a lot of different things. I use it on chicken when I'm grilling chicken. I also use it when I'm sautéing mushrooms as well. Works very nicely on mushrooms. It is a steak seasoning traditionally, okay? It's a traditional steak seasoning. So you can see here, the onions are starting to really break down now, and also the potatoes are nice and browned. These things are looking really good. They're perfect, and there'll still be a little bit of a crispness to those brown sides of those potatoes there. But it's looking really good, and it's going to taste as good as it looks. Now, time for the special ingredient, okay? Bacon bits, haha. Now this is something, you know, I can throw in, and you know, these are going to be very nice to add a little bit more flavor to these. And you know, I had a choice of using some of my pre-cooked bacon that I fried up myself, you know, last week or so, and I keep bacon inside the fridge pre-cooked so that we can have bacon pretty quickly and easily. Not going to use a whole lot, you know, but just enough to add another layer of flavor, right? That's what those professional chefs always talk about, adding layers of flavor. So we're adding layers of flavor here. And we're not even one of those. We're not a chef here. This is not chef stuff. This is dad cooking here. That's what we call dad cooking. Potatoes are really inexpensive still. And you can take a couple of bucks and a couple of seasonings that you've got already sitting around in the house there, and you can really make a meal for your family there. So these are going to have that onion in there, that garlic is all mixed in there, and it's going to be really good. You've got your Montreal seasoning, you've got your red pepper flakes and the parsley that give it a nice look. You know, you can see those red pepper flakes in there. You can see the green flecks of parsley in there. That's the herbs and the spices, right? Everybody wants to know what those herbs and spices are. You know, herbs, spices. And of course, again, the Montreal seasoning has a lot of different spices and things in it, a lot of different ingredients, but one of the ingredients is also salt, right? I mean, I told you there's black pepper in there. There's a little onion flavoring in there. There's some paprika. That's why I didn't want to add any paprika in this recipe by itself. But look at this. This is looking really, really good. This is what we're looking for. And now, I think we're done. It's done to me, and I'm looking forward to really plating this up and giving it a taste test, all right? So we'll come back for that. Okay, everybody, it's time to plate some of this up and do a little bit of a taste test. Now, I'm going to tell you something here. These things, these potatoes, the kids are going to love it. You dads out there with little kids, they're going to love it on Saturday morning before they go off and do whatever they're going to do for the day. I'm only going to put off a little bit of this on the plate here because I really don't want to eat too much of them right now because I want to be polite and not eat too much in front of all of you. That's not polite. But I'm telling you, now I'm a little old-fashioned. So what I like to do on potatoes, you know, guys, let's be honest here. You dads out there, we like to put ketchup on everything. But for me, sometimes I just like a little bit of mayonnaise on my fried potatoes. Just a little bit, not a whole lot. I know that for most people, that's like, yuck. Just a little bit on the side there, okay? This isn't glamorous, right? This isn't chef stuff here, right? But this is dad stuff. So look at what we've got here. We've got these wonderfully browned fried potatoes here. Not too overly cooked, of course, but browned nicely. We've got the onions in there, and you can see the onions have gotten really nice, that opaque color that happens with red onions. And again, I usually don't use red onions in this recipe, but that's what I had. And but of course, you can see the parsley there. Gives it a nice look. You can see where the red pepper flakes are, and we've got the jalapeno representing as well. And I did do a separate taste test on the jalapeno, and they're just right. So you get a little bit of the whole mixture there on your fork. Dip a little bit into the mayonnaise. For you, those of you who love mayonnaise with potatoes, and I know there's some of you out there. Be honest. Let's see what they taste like. Awesome. Perfect. You can taste that garlic in there. You can taste that Montreal seasoning. Yeah, you can find that anywhere. I have a big, large bottle of it because we use it quite a bit in cooking. But this is awesome. This is wonderful. You've got all those, those ingredients, the fresh ingredients that we put in, the garlic, the pepper, the Montreal seasoning, though, added onto that, and of course the parsley. And you can taste all those things. And yeah, the mayonnaise, maybe that's kind of a French thing to do, but for me, it goes along very nicely. And again, this is like a comfort food here. This is a comfort food, not something to be all fancy or anything like that, but it's something that you can really enjoy on a very, chilly fall afternoon or morning with the kids, because this is Dad cooking here. This is Dad stuff, and I think that really gives you a full picture of what you can do with this nice little recipe here. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna have just one more spoonful in front of everybody, and all I can say is good cooking. All you dads out there, dad cooking, and you daughters that love your daddy's cooking, encourage Dad to make these for you. All right, we'll see you the next time on Dad's Kitchen. Wonderful.